Hi, welcome back to the channel. Please follow along as I lay out and install a lot of upgrades in this compact instrument panel. Now we know where we have space to work because we've confirmed visually there's room behind it. This is EGT. It's a dual one that switches back and forth, and it's in a 2-inch hole. These are all 2 1/4 inch holes. This is a 2-inch hole. So we really don't have a big choice anyway. And I think that's a great place for it because the tack is right there. And of course our EGT is so important and it's right where we can see it. The next instrument we want to add is the water temperature, coolant temperature. So I'm thinking, and we've been discussing this, and I'm going to put it right there. So we'd have RPM, exhaust temperature, and coolant temperature. And then we need to put our fuel gauge in somewhere. And I'm not going to lay it down because I don't want to scratch the face. I'm just going to use this little ring. So that's what we're going to have here. So we're going to have airspeed indicator and our intercom and our fuel gauge down on that side. I think they're going to fit in there just fine. Then also we want to install a 12 volt power point, which we decided would be a great place to put right there, and we'll match it up on the other side with USB charging port because we always need one of those. So we'll balance that off over there. And then we have a engine start, push to start button, and we're going to put it right there. And then these 2 nuts represent the trim switch and the light switch. And we're also going to put in a red indicator that's going to be hooked up to the oil tank because it has an oil tank with a sending unit. Let's use the sending unit. And I think we maybe will put it right there where that little black washer is. So that's where our red light will go, right there. And so now, what am I going to do now? Now I know I have space behind. Now we have to make the holes. And like most things, you want to make the hole once the right size. So I'm going to remove all of these from here. I'm going to tape it up with some masking tape, and then I'm going to mark this all out, measure it so I get everything the same distance because we don't want them all in here all crooked or offset. We want it to look nice. If we're going to do it, let's do it nice. All right, so let me get the tape on there and we'll go from there. So I've taped it all up now. What I want to do is to get a nice reference that's straight and square. So I laid the ruler on here and I'm just measuring. This is no particular measurement. I just want it even at each side. I'm going to drop it right there against the ruler and it's perfect. And at this end, and it's perfect. So I have the same spacing from the bottom of this instrument to the ruler and from this instrument to the ruler, which is what I want. Now I'm going to make a line across. Now I know that that line is parallel to these. Everything will come off of this line, so we want everything to be straight. Now I need the axis 90 degrees to that one. So I've measured in between these 2 screws here, and there's my mark right here. That's perfectly in the center. It's kind of hard to find the center of this gauge hole, so I'm actually just going to measure across the whole part here. It's about 10 thou shy of, what do we have? 3 inches 400. So what's half of 3 inches 400 is 1/700. So I'll go to, well, I'll just mark it right there instead of moving this again. So 1/700 is right there. And just to double check because it's early in the morning here. Okay, what do we got here and here? Yes, we're good in the middle. Okay, so now we'll run the ruler up the center. Get our line on it. And then we can space the top 2 gauges. There we go. Remember, it doesn't take much longer to make it all straight and nice and pretty than it does to just hack it and stick the things in any old place. So when I'm trying to mark out the hole for the power port, this is a pretty big box in there. So I've taken it out, of course, and I put it right there. It's centered in the hole. Now let's draw out. So these are the no-go. This is the no-go line for when we continue on with this to figure out where that hole is going to go. So don't expect this all to go exactly where you had it to begin with, because now I see, I should have done this before, I see where my no-go line is right here. I can move these 2 gauges up higher, which will actually move them over a little bit out. They'll be visually way more in line here, so that's going to get changed. So I have plenty of room now for the power port. I marked it on the outside just because it's easier, and then I'm just going to drop the gasket over here, and I'll have a reasonable reference for the hole that I want to make for the inside. Sorry, should use the nut. It's a little more stationary than the rubber thing. All right. So there we go, and I'm going to mark the X right there to make sure that I don't cut on the wrong line. That would be bad. Okay, so now I'm going to relay these out. I'm going to use the same center, and I'm going to move the edge up right to, go to this line, right, nope, go to that one and stay on my center line, go up to there, I'm on my center line, redraw, and okay, and I could have moved it over a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to put some more tape on there and start again. Too many marks. Okay, some more fresh tape on there because we're going to move this up and over, and it gets too confusing when there's too many marks on there. Visually, if somebody can see these are not perfectly in line, I'd be surprised. Hold it down again. And there we go. So we've got a little more margin here on the edge, which is nice. So that's very good, where the edge rounds. So I'm happy with that. And we've moved it up enough that it makes a good change in it. Okay, so we'll lay it this side, and then we'll go from there. So I matched this all up, extended the lines out so that these are both centered in the same place with what we want. So this will be the part that we cut out, this part right here. When you get it all laid out and you think of different ways to do it, now's the time to do any of these things. We're going to decided that we're going to move the oil level indicator for the oil tank for the engine up to this position right here. Then I had 2 nuts for 2 switches before, now I got 3 washers. So we're going to have an additional one, of course. We're going to have trim, we're going to have the landing lamp, and we're going to have the nav strobes on the one switch here. And then we're still going to go with the push to start button right about there. Now I have my my diameter accurate measured, so I've set the vernier to exactly half, which is 1 inch and 25 thou. So that's what I set it to, and I locked it. So I want to find the center, so I'm going to start right here and just give it a little rub across the center and double check with a little rub there, and it's exactly the same. Now let's turn it this direction, go for my line there. And yes, and just to double check. Yes. Okay, so then now I can make my little pen spot right on the intersection right there. So that's my center point right there with that little mark that you probably can't see on the camera. So because this is fiberglass, I'm not going to use an ordinary drill on it. I'm going to use one of these step drills. And I'm looking for 375. I'm going to do the little light first, the oil light. 365 towards 70. So I'll take this one. Now that I've center drilled it, I'm going to go in. I made a black mark on here so I know as a reference when that one goes in, that's the size hole that I want. So again, same with the other, the small centering drill. I'm just going to go slow. I'm not pushing. Let the tool do its work kind of under its own weight. Okay, where do we make it to? So the next one is the black one. So this is going to be the size of the hole that we want. Well, it's going to be the size of the hole we get anyway. Because I measured this many, many times, which is what you want to do when you do this stuff. It's easier to make the hole bigger than it is to make it smaller. So let's check the fit on this, and that part's fine. Okay, that's exactly what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for the hole to be just a little bit tight. Now, staying with the smaller holes first, I'm going to center drill the ones here for all of our switches. Get right on my mark. This step drill, I was looking for 500, like a ½ an inch, and I've got 490. I'll take it because then I can maybe hand fit it a little bit, which is just fine. So I will be using, just to double check again, the whole length of this to make these. Through. Okay. Slow is better. You don't have to push, and it fits right in. We're going to do the push to start 740 thou. One of these step ones, the little bigger one, 740. So they marked it as 3/4. That's cool. Okay, so I've already pre-drilled. So let's see what we can do here with this one. This one's going to go all the way through. I'm just going slowly. I'm letting the drill do the work. I'm not pushing. Just let the bit cut. Okay, we're in the transition to the 3/4 inch part. And there we go, all the way through. So now we need to make the larger holes for the gauges, and we don't want them to fall through the hole, of course. We only get to do the hole one time. This is the tool that I use to make the holes, and it just has a center point here, and it has a cutter on each side, and I'm looking for 2 inches and 40 thou, I think it was. I'll look again, but I just did this is just a scrap piece of Lexan I have here, and I just did a test with it set the way it is. And if I had went ahead and done it, the hole would be too big. So this is not the most accurate tool. Like, there's graduations on it, but yeah, that's about all they are. Just a reference, it just gets you close. So now I need to measure it. I've measured across, and I'm too large of a hole right now, so I'm gonna measure it this way and find out which cutter is out of place. This one is 1 inch and 85, and this one is, there you go, that was the other one. This one is 1 inch and 35. So the adjustment on this is not the most accurate thing at this point in time. I'm just going to loosen it off a little bit, and I'm just going to give it a little tappy tap, because this is what you're working with, and see if we can get it to 1 inch 35. Didn't move at all. Didn't move at all yet either, so a little more. Oh, that moved a bit. Okay, we'll give it a little snug again. See if we can get this side the same. Well, we're going. I want a nice round hole, and if it's little, that's fine. I can file it. No, not a problem. Oh, that's pretty darn close. Maybe 35. 40, yeah, I'll just give it one little tappy again. And we'll tighten it up and see if it moved. Nope, good. Okay, so now I'll give these both a good tight. And we'll make another test hole. Now when you use these things, this is just a brutal weapon of a tool. As it spins, these bars are spinning around. So when you use it, keep well away. No loose clothes, no nothing like that, or you're gonna get hurt. In large, I'm sure. Let me do another test hole. So good thing I used a test piece on that, because when I measured this, I was only at 100 thou. So it didn't make a very good hole. See, it's 1135. Okay, so let's give this an adjustment again. Get 100 thou off of it is what I need. So there we go. All right, there. That was an easy adjustment that time. And again, tighten it all up. This time I'll double check it again. Here I'm talking about measuring everything twice, and I was only out 100 thou. Okay, 1 inch and 35. All right, it's awful darn close, but I'll give it a little tappy again. These precision tools, you know where they're all made, you know, so it only gets so good. There's likely a made in America one that actually adjusts properly, but if you measure this one, you can make it work. Yep, okay, so here we go again, another test hole and see how it works. Okay, third time was the charm on this one. Let's see what size we get. And whoops, we'll go right to the outside. Yeah, 2 inches and 5, and we want 2 inches and 50 thou. I would gladly hand finish the hole to make it the right size. So I'm going to tighten that thing up as tight as I can make it go, and then we're going to move over and make a hole in the panel. So we have to support this from behind because it's pretty lightweight. So we're going to place it on this block. I made a hole in there so that this can fit in. So now we have something actually underneath of it to hold it while we're working. All right, let's test to make sure that hole is underneath there. Yes, it is. Okay, so here is the part where you can really hurt yourself because these bars are spinning around. So we have to make sure we stay well clear of this for the whole process. Okay, so you ready? If it jams, it'll probably break something. So and again, speed is not the way to go. It's cutting and trying to let it go under its own weight, because when it breaks through, per se, I don't want it to stick and break it. So this is the hold your breath moment for this job of doing this panel. Got that piece out, so here's our temp gauge. And does it fall right through the hole? I don't know, let's find out. No, it doesn't. Isn't that what? It's just what we wanted. Now we can just hand fit it, and so that it's not going to flop around there. It almost goes through. Perfect. Okay, we're going to do the other one. So I made the holes in the end. They were all a little bit smaller than I wanted. I used my little rotary file to get them real close, and then I used the little sanding drum to get them done. So here we have it, the finished product. Everything is just in here loose because it's going to come apart and be wrapped. It should look really cool after. We've got our 12-volt power point here, and we've got 2 USB chargers, and through this little window there's a voltmeter in there that reads, which is pretty neat. And as you can see, we've got our water temperature gauge in that nice new hole, the fuel gauge, 3 switches all nice and neat and across, nice and straight, and our push to start. Fantastic project. When you're doing this stuff, just take your time. Measure like 14 times instead of measuring twice. Lots of measuring, lots of double checking. You only get to make the hole too big once. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video on, well, we installed instruments, switches, all kinds of cool things. So keep watching, more to come. Talk to you later. Bye now.